Hi, this is Smulski, and I'm here from the Transformation Station to interview author Faith Canter, who's been kind enough to interview me a couple of times. So I'm just going to get my revenge there and get to interview her and get her to be in the hot seat for a change. So just to introduce Faith, Faith is a best-selling author of the excellent book Living a Life Less Toxic, and it's a book she wrote after healing herself from ME and through changing many aspects of her life and through eating the right foods and through getting the right thoughts and doing the right sort of meditation and de-junking her life and reframing aspects of your past, I think, as well, and stepping into self-love and really discovering what that was about. She's also writing other exciting books, I believe, so we're going to find out a bit about that. She runs events and workshops and helps other people to cleanse their body naturally and to bring their life back into perfect balance. And she also creates beautiful things like mandalas and artwork, which I'll show you. And she loves to travel and do adventure walks and is also an expert on fermented foods and lots of other things. So does that cover most of what you're about, Faith, or is there more to it?
I think that pretty much covers everything. It's probably more than everything.
Right, good. So I did want to thank you for doing those videos that you did for me. So if people want to see them, if they search on Faith Canter and Leicester, they'll find one on hypnotherapy and one on self-love from the self-love summit that you did. And yeah, I wanted to just say these videos have been really helpful for me and for my business. Just to give you an example, I had a small boy who had some challenges and he was going to come and see me. He was very shy. And one of the things I suggested to his mother was to watch our interview together because it was so fun and gives an idea of what kind of work that I do as well, for that. And he came to the house and I sort of said, would you like a cup of tea? And, what would you like in it? And he was like, yes. And he was all enthusiastic. And afterwards, his parents said to me, we've never ever seen him accept a cup of tea from anyone except for the family. And I think a lot of that was to do with the magic of the video and how relaxed and fun it was for us. So yeah, so I've got some good questions for you from me and from some of your fans and clients out there. So so you want to get started?
Yeah, I was just going to say actually,
yeah.
Just pop the links to the videos below this video. So
okay, brilliant. And obviously at the end we'll put links to how to get in touch with you and myself as well, just so that if people are interested in anything piques their interest. So today it's really about you though, so I want to keep that focus there. So first of all, we're going to talk about books in general, and I know you love books. I remember seeing on Facebook or something you had some books that you were de-junking. There's this massive pile of books, and I thought that's probably more than I've read in my entire lifetime.
That's about 1,500 books I decluttered last year.
It's incredible.
I've still got about 3 bookshelves as well.
Do you do speed reading, or what do you?
I think from years of being unwell, I read almost all the time because I couldn't do much else. And now it's one of my non-negotiables. I enjoy reading. I feel out of sync if I don't read. And I just read anytime. I'll read stood at the bus stop. I'll read, waiting for the bus, wait on the bus, anywhere really, just that I can get, a few pages in here and there.
Right.
I really enjoy learning. So, like I say, it's one of my non-negotiables.
Good. I remember our friend Jennifer Main talking about non-negotiables in one of her interviews that you did with her. And it's a really, really powerful concept, it really is great. And so books are great. And the great thing about you having read all of those books is that you can distill the best knowledge of that into your own books and also add your own flavor to it and your own findings, unique findings. So there's always something there that people can't get anywhere else as well. And reading a book sometimes just inspires that thought, and it's magical. So that's great. So I remember, I was going to tell you about a book I read. I remember reading Bear Grylls' book, Facing Up, it was called. And he had broken his back in a free fall parachute accident, losing him his position in the SAS that he'd worked so hard to attain. And what he did was, they thought he may never walk again at one point. And what he did was he got his picture out of Mount Everest that his dad had given to him as a kid, and he had in his bedroom wall when he was younger. And he got that picture up and he started looking at it. And within 2 years, he ended up being the youngest Brit to climb Mount Everest, to get to the top. And the power of books being so inspiring, there was a girl called Benita Norris who was a British girl, and she had never ran anywhere in her life. And if she ran to the lamppost, she felt like she was going to be sick. And then she ran to the next one and the next one, and she'd read his book, and she ended up reaching the summit of Mount Everest at age 22, even younger than Bear Grylls.
Okay.
So that's how powerful and inspiring books can be.
Yeah.
There's probably, a metaphor there in that your own book is probably inspiring people to change their lives in dramatic ways that even you don't realize the impact of. So have you had some nice feedback from people who've made changes through reading your book or going to your events?
Yeah, I mean, quite regularly I get feedback from one or the other. Good feedback as well, not just bad feedback. But yeah, I mean, before I say that, there's just people's inspiring stories was what inspired me to get well. So you're definitely right with that. I started reading recovery stories from about anything and everything, terminal cancer, ME, anything. And I just thought, if these people can do it, if these people can turn their lives around, where they were told they were going to die in a week's time or within 24 hours, or, like Bear Grylls, there's a book I read recently called The Miracle Man, where he was, is it quadriplegic? He couldn't move any of his body from like the neck down. And he managed over a few years to, he's now one of these major speakers in the States and things. He's got movement, he can walk, and and it's really important what we're reading and watching. We tend to watch a lot of the news and soaps and read depressing things and stuff, and that's going in. We're taking that on board. And when you shift your focus and you start reading and watching empowering, inspiring things, it has a huge impact on your own psyche, and it's really empowering for yourself. And that's what did it for me. And that's when I got well and people started saying to me, you should write a book. And I was like, oh no, I can't inspire people like that. You start having all these doubts again. People are like, no, your stuff's really helping people. You should write a book. And I was like, I don't know where to begin. I was dyslexic. Well, I am dyslexic. I say was because it doesn't. It used to bother me, and now it doesn't. But so I was like, I can't write a book. I can't string a sentence together half the time. But none of that stuff matters. If you're passionate about what you do, it will just come through anyway. And I think writing a book has helped. It's like been another stage of my healing, because I had all these doubts and all these beliefs that I was still running about that sort of thing. And writing the book really helped to shift those. And it's really lovely to hear that it's helping other people. I mean, I get messages regularly. It varies, but regularly from people saying that they've made some changes, or they've done this, that, and the other, and how much it's helped. And I had somebody booking a coaching a while back, and they were already halfway along their healing path. because they'd read my book a few months beforehand.
Brilliant.
So kind of I just went in and helped them tweak the end bit, and then they were healed completely from chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
That's such a gift.
I've done it for years, so I think that the thing with the book as well is the books are cheap and easy compared to coaching or training or whatever. So you can take it as at your own pace.
Yeah.
So it's great to know that it's helping people, and not just people that have got chronic fatigue syndrome, but the principles in the book can help with lots of different illnesses, because we are unfortunately in this day and age quite toxic.
Yes, definitely.
Either in body or mind or home or both. I like to think the principles in the book help with lots of different things going on for lots of different people.
They definitely do. I recommend a lot of books because of the work that I do, and your book is my most recommended book. So, so if you see things selling on Amazon in the Edinburgh area and you're wondering who that is, that's my clients that keep buying your book, because I'm saying this is really, really good and it would really help your journey. So yeah, that's awesome. You've kind of answered a little bit of the next bit. So I'm just going to read something to you. I asked Leslie Scott, who's one of a client of both of ours, and she's actually asked her if she could say a few words about you. And she said, "It was a privilege to working with Faith and being involved with her and her first book, Living a Life Less Toxic. It helped me to understand some of my problems stemmed from lack of self-esteem, and her work has helped me to realize that and started me off on a wonderful journey. And I would say that Faith has been a catalyst for change for me." So that's a really beautiful thing to hear, And she's such a lovely person, and she's gone and worked with myself and lovely Fiona Morris, who we'll mention as well later on. So yeah, so good. So I was remembering that. Oh, dyslexia, by the way. My last client that I spoke to had dyslexia a week ago. Doesn't think they have it now. So we could have a chat about that. I've been doing a lot of work with people that have dyslexia and dyspraxia and all that sort of thing. So it depends what challenge it causes you. But obviously, you're a best-selling author now, so it's not really obviously slowing you down that much. So I remember, we'd met several times at networking events, and I remember when you were just about to publish your book, and you were a little bit unsure of yourself then, I think, just a wee bit, and you've just become more and more confident, I think, as you got the book out there, as the word got out there, as people started to make changes. And it's really good that you got past that, whatever doubts you had about yourself, and got that work message out there. So I remember we were at a networking event, and we were going the same way, and there was a bus, and the bus was across the road, and I sort of looked at you, thinking, realizing that you used to have ME, and I was thinking, are you okay to run for the bus? And you're like, yeah, and you're running faster than me, and got all the way there, and you were, not out of breath, and we were just laughing, and it was really fun. And I just thought, isn't that amazing how far she's come? Because I know that from reading your book that one time you just couldn't get out of your bed, And I was going to ask you, what was the moment that you thought, enough, or I'm going to do something? You kind of touched on that, but is there anything you'd like to add to that moment?
The moment that I decided I was recovering.
Yeah, that you're going to go for it.
I read a book, funnily enough, called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman, and it is one of my recommends that I recommend for everybody. It changed my life. It's cool. Actually, they renamed the newest edition "A Book That Changes Lives."
Oh, right.
But it really does. And I was very privileged to meet the man himself a few months ago in London.
I saw the photo, I think, yeah.
Yeah, he's 70 years old and you would not believe it, honestly. So his stuff really works. But yeah, I read this book called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior and I devoured it. It made me realise that, yes, I was unwell and there were certain things I couldn't do, but there were certain things that I could do. And that, you know, when I was living my busy life before, I wasn't aware of the birds and the bees and the squirrels and nature and all sorts of amazing things that are happening all around me, because I was getting from A to B and doing, you know, 100 things and stuff. I wasn't present in my life. And when I read his book, I started to sit at the window, because that's about the only thing I could do. I started to sit at the window and look at nature and watch nature. Watch the, I don't know, the dustbin men, the people going to and from work, whatever it was. And I just really began to appreciate that time that I had, yes, that I couldn't do anything, but that I could sit and just watch and be absorbed by or embrace nature and what was around me. So I started to do that, and it's like, I guess it's practicing gratitude, because it's really sort of just appreciating all the little things. And as I appreciated the little things, more things kind of snowballed, more and more things came along to appreciate. So rather than sort of listing every day all the things that were wrong and all the things I couldn't do, I started listing all the things that were right and all the things I could do and see and notice. And I don't recommend this to anyone, so please don't do this. But it was the day after that I threw all my medication away that I was on, and started meditating and doing EFT and various other things, all very quickly after each other, because I just started researching everything I could on the internet, reading loads of books I could, trying everything I could, basically, with the energy I did have. So that was it for me, is realizing I might not be able to, because at that stage I wasn't sure whether I could recover or not, but I was damn sure I was going to make the most of what I could do.
Brilliant.
And that was the change that just sort of switched for me.
That's fantastic. Wow. You know, I was getting thoughts there. You know, I don't even know if you remember the magician David Blaine, who did that thing in London where he was in a box suspended above London Bridge and he had no food for a month or something.
Yeah.
And when he came out, the first thing he said was how beautiful everything was, and how, because he'd like let go of all of his attachments. And that book that you mentioned was really about that, letting it go. You know, if you let go of everything and you just become the pure soul or pure self that you are, how beautiful and peaceful everything is. And it was like that. So you kind of like let go of all your attachments to all the things that were holding you back. And it's a very brave thing to do, but it's also quite magical, you know. So that's very inspiring. So I was going to ask you about something else. So you said when I first heard the word cleanse, which you do, I did your cleanse in January, which was really awesome, actually, really good, and got lots of benefits from it. And I was wondering at that time, you know, what the difference was between a cleanse and a detox. And I was wondering if you could explain to people what the difference is between a cleanse and a detox, just briefly.
For me, a cleanse is a more holistic, whole life approach, I guess. Only purely because the word detox is kind of getting a bad name for itself. Because people go on these sort of, you know, weekend detoxes and lose apparently 2 stone, and you know, it sorts out all the drinking and the smoking they've been doing for the 2 weeks beforehand or whatever, and then a week later they feel rubbish again. So we do get this word detox sort of bandied about, and for me it's not always the best approach, because it's not always looking at the bigger picture. and not necessarily giving us tools to move forward so that we don't have to keep doing detoxes.
Yeah.
So for me, Cleanse, which is what I've named my second book, is a much more nurturing and nourishing approach. So it's got similar aspects to a detox, but it's done usually over a longer period of time, and with not just the body, which is what a lot of detoxes just focus on, is changing the diet. Whereas for me, that approach by itself doesn't work, because if we needed to go on the detox in the first place, it means that we're not necessarily being nourishing to ourselves. So perhaps there's some mind stuff that we need to address as well to help us be more nourishing and nurturing to ourselves. So for me, the cleanse is dealing with mind, body, and soul. I call it in my cleanse book. So it's much more nourishing, much more nurturing over a longer period of time. But the tools that you learn, you can take on. You can take what you want from it and carry on with those, so that you don't have to keep going back and doing detoxes. And it's really supportive of the mind, and why perhaps we've got in that pickle in the first place, that we needed to do a detox.
Totally. I also found that when we did the cleanse, there was that idea of getting rid of parasites from the body and stuff, which a detox isn't enough to cover, because you had things that we could take for even longer than the normal cleanse, that were helping to bring the good bacteria into balance. So it was, and
about healing.
Yeah.
Whereas a detox is more about, generally, for most people, shedding weight.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Right. Okay.
And I think that's probably not always, that's kind of being a bit general there, but I think that's, for me, where it is. It cleanses a much more healing approach.
Well, that makes sense. One good thing about people doing at the moment you're doing another cleanse, a juice cleanse at the moment. I've got my carrot and apple and ginger here, and it's great. And it's good to get a wee, it's like a wee top-up MOT check-in kind of thing. And the thing I've found each time I've done a detox or a cleanse is that afterwards some of my habits have changed. Yeah. So, I'm definitely not the poster boy for good healthy eating, as any of our friends in the network will tell you. I'm the one that will take them for an ice cream or whatever. But there are some things that have changed. Like I've got healthy sauerkraut that you introduced me to, which is a source of good bacteria. Is that right?
Yeah, probiotics, nutrients.
And rather than having late night cereal that I used to have, I actually go and have some of that, and I actually really enjoy it. And I thought that's really healthy, because that's changed a whole aspect of what I was doing before. Yeah. And it's fantastic. So good. So we'll move on to the next question. So as an established author now, I was sitting near you at an event last week where our good friend Helen Monaghan was doing launching her new excellent new book, Successful Business Minds. And I was doing some coaching with Helen, and she's mentioned it in her blog and things. So just to get her in the right state to again, just the same thing for you as yourself, just being confident that this message has to go out to the world, and it's very valuable and precious, and that a lot of people in the room love and admire her. And I was just wondering what thoughts were going through your mind. Were you thinking about what she was experiencing, going through just doing her first presentation of their new book, and if it made you recall doing your presentation of your book when it came out?
I was just thinking how great she did. I was in awe. I was like, wow, she is going to be a really great speaker. Because, my first one, I was like, oh no, I've got to do this. But she was brilliant. She had everyone hooked. I recommend to everyone listening to check her out. she's going to be a great speaker. And I can't wait to start the book. I'm just finishing someone else's at the moment, so ours is next. But yeah, for me, I kind of did a little bit of a cheat. I kind of did a little bit of cheat on my on my my first sort of well, on my book launch. I did a bit of a cheat because
did you get someone else to do it?
Anything like that. But I put around the room lots of raw food treats and cakes and things that I'd made, so recipes from the book. And I had fermented foods there, and I had one of our friends, Veronica, she bought her Kangen water filter thing there, and I had some tables that people could make their own perfumes and their own sprays and sachets and things like this. So I kind of occupied everyone in that way, so I didn't have to talk for as long.
Brilliant. Brilliant, well done.
All from the book. It's all of that stuff is in the book, and so many more recipes. So I kind of, that was my thing, is I had a little talk, and then I said, now go and help yourself to all these wonderful things that are in the book.
It's a great book, actually. You know, it's not it's not preachy like a lot of other health books. I've got a note here from my wife. I was asking her some words about you, and I said, so tell me what you think of Faith. And she says, she's that mean, evil person who made me stop eating all that stuff. But she says, all joking aside, she said she really, admires you, that you walk your talk, and you have, she says she believes you have an 80% raw food diet. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she says that you're great at sharing your principles without being preachy. And, after talking to you or doing a coaching session with you, she feels that she really wants to do these things. Now, that was a really important thing, because she'd been to like other groups before and felt that the people weren't walking their talk, and she can sense that a mile away, and that turns her right off to the message.
Yeah.
But with your stuff, I just think she just totally connected with it. And she also admires your flexibility as a coach and your one-to-ones. So if she said she didn't like eating fish or something like that, you would say, well, here's some other things that will give you the same benefit. Mm-hmm. So you're able to work around things and personalize it to the person. And she also says you're very calm, and yet you can be serious when needed, and that's good because it's not too airy-fairy. It's kind of I mean, I know you know all about law of attraction and shamanic principles and all sorts of stuff, but you're also very grounded in the way you coach and teach, and so she says, I'm slimmer, feeling better about myself, and I don't have indigestion anymore. And that is a really, really, I mean, she used to have indigestion a lot, and as soon as she started working with you, it stopped very, very quickly. So that's phenomenal, and that's an ongoing benefit, for her. So that was quite nice. Yeah. And it's quite good for me because I'm a coach. I don't, working with your family and things. It's, you don't want to be, you want them to do their own thing a little bit and not be too preachy to them either, sort of thing. So it's quite good to. So I appreciate you for that as well. Yeah. So a student of mine had a ongoing energy deficiency problem. Maybe kind of related to ME. She had symptoms of IBS, and on my adult education course, I had this kind of bold statement. I must have been in flow, and I said, for every illness in the world, someone somewhere has cured themselves of it, or found a solution, or found a way out. And it's useful to sometimes it's useful to have a label to know what it is you're dealing with, but some people just adopt that label and they're stuck with it. Yeah. Whereas you can actually go out there and find, something like your book, which has answers in it, which can, move people forward. So anyway, this person, they we had a 2-week midterm break, and they came back and they said, Lester, something amazing's happened. I said, well, what is it? She said, well, after hearing you talk about that, I was just determined that I was going to find an answer. And I started looking on the internet and I searched all over. And she said, within 3 days, I found some healthy bacteria, and that's the same sort of stuff that you teach about. And I started taking it. And she said, and in the last week, I've been to the gym 3 times. And actually yesterday, she says, I went to the gym, and once I finished my workout, I went to a gym class as well on the same day. So, so it's quite powerful, when you get that intention to heal yourself. And also it's very powerful to use the things that you're teaching in your book, because that's, if she'd read your book, she would have got those answers,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Where you focus is where you focus flourishes. And I know myself that one of the things I talk about actually quite a lot is I used to, when I was really unwell, to visualise walking up a Munro. For people that aren't in Scotland, that's a mountain. And I also had a couple of other visualisations. One of them was walking Camino, and the other one is canoeing or kayaking down the whole west coast of Scotland.
Wow.
The first 2 I've kind of done. The third one I haven't even attempted yet. But my point is that every day I focused on that. Rather, when I realised what I'd been doing after reading that book, every day I focused on those things, and I made them really vivid. I could smell it, I could feel it. I was on the mountain, there was wind, I was there. I was totally there. And I'm sure that was part of my healing, along with all the other stuff, but I'm sure of it, because you're reinforcing those pathways in the brain rather than reinforcing the ones that are thinking, I can't move, I'm tired, I'm this and that. So,
of course, yeah.
It creates a chemical reaction.
It does. It does. And the RAS of your mind, the reticular activating system, starts looking for opportunities that are towards that goal. You might be walking past a shop and see the right boots for climbing with, and go. It's amazing.
One of the things that I think David Hamilton says, but I know certainly lots of other people say, is that the brain doesn't know the difference between something it imagines and something that actually happens.
Yeah, it's true.
So if you're imagining all the time bad stuff, the body's having reactions to that. It's going into the stress, the anxiety response. If you're imagining good stuff, it's having reactions to that, and it's creating good hormones and things to energize and empower and push you forward.
Yeah, totally. It shows you why you have to have positive language as well as positive images, and that's brilliant. So I want to ask you another question. It's a question that you've not been asked before. There's now she's worried now. There's a Mr. Canter in your life, yeah? There's a Mr. Canter in your life, James.
There is, yes.
And I met him, and he's a high energy, positive, really fun guy. And I was wondering what part that he's had in your healing and in inspiring you to become more.
Because he's just been totally supportive of the whole way. The whole way. He's never put pressure on me to do anything or change anything. And he's just been there, and he's repeatedly said to me, just do what makes you happy. And that helps so much, on top of, being unwell and for so long and things, just to know that, that person's there supporting you no matter what you do.
You both look really joyful and happy together when you do, anytime I see photos of you or anything, it's really nice. And he is quite inspiring in the fact that he had an injury and he was going to cycle across the Pyrenees or something, and rather than cancel, what did he do?
He did it.
Yeah, incredible. So yeah, brilliant. So
he shows me every day the power of the mind, because if he puts his mind to it, it gets done. He works his arse off for things, but if he if he wants to do something, he will do it, and including coming off of his bike and damaging his shoulder and the whole of one side. He just took the skin off of half of the side of him, and 2 weeks later or something was cycling 500 miles across the Pyrenees still. I probably wouldn't recommend that to everybody.
No, but it's very inspiring to be able to do that.
He was, as soon as he puts his mind saying that's it, and he just shows me, when I do have those moments of doubt, that if I put my mind to something, I can do it.
Right, good. So talking about 500 miles, I hear you have a plan to walk 500 miles yourself. So tell me about what's going on there with that.
Well, like I said just a minute ago, one of the things I visualized on was walking the Camino, which is 500 miles across. It starts in southern France, and goes through across the top of northern Spain, and goes just over the Pyrenees as well. And that's one of the things I visualized. So since getting better, I've kept meaning to do it, but obviously you've got to take quite a few weeks out of your daily schedule to do it. So I started doing that at the end of March, or the end of February, I don't know, sometime recently. But unfortunately I did damage my leg on day 4, but I carried on walking on it till day 9 when I couldn't actually walk any further. But I did do 130 miles of it, so it was a good taster.
Yeah.
And I plan to go back in September of this year and start again.
Brilliant. You'll find it all the easier the second time, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I won't be damaging any legs this time.
But isn't that incredible that someone who used to have ME can even think about walking a 500 mile? I mean, I want people to think how far 500 miles is. I mean, that's from Edinburgh, Glasgow to Southampton. That's a long way. It's incredible. So yeah, it's really, really cool. So you've got I've got some words from Fiona Morris here, who's a nutritionist, herbalist. She's incredible. She's also an incredible soul and very inspiring person who lives, like you. She walks her talk. So she said how inspiring Faith's dedication to her work is. It's been lovely to witness her blossoming on her journey to becoming an author. Faith shares her joys and healing path with her community so openly and vulnerably. She truly encourages others to do the same simply by walking her talk and generously sharing it with the world. So that was lovely. And she said, could you ask her which writers or mentors are most inspiring to her at the moment?
Which what, sorry?
Which authors and mentors?
No. There's so many. One of the people that I do recommend a lot of people to is Sandy Newbigging.
Yeah, I know him.
Who is from Edinburgh as well. But he's quite a big Hay House author now, living in London. And his work is incredible. It's based a lot of it in meditation, but it takes it so much further, where you can resolve problems, physical and mental, and turn your life around and really change your way of thinking about your life. So his stuff is really inspiring. I really like everything he's doing. So I would recommend him and particularly his most recent book, Body Calm.
Brilliant. I met him doing a talk one time at a happiness event, and he's just he just you can sense when people they're real and they're he walks his talk. Yeah. And it's very inspiring, and I know you got a lot out of going to some events of his as well. So
yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for that. So,
I have got one other actually. I feel.
Yeah.
There's a lady called Abby Wynn. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's a energy healer and shaman from Dublin, and she's a Hay House author as well. And she's just brought a book out called How to Be Well, and that's the one I'm just reading at the moment before I read Helen's.
Right.
And she's so genuine and authentic. She's just a beautiful soul. So I highly recommend her stuff.
What's that? What's her name again?
Abby Wynn.
Right, brilliant. Okay, excellent. So check that out, guys. Yeah, you've got an event coming up in June, and even for people, this is June 2016. Even for people who are maybe seeing this after that, Faith will probably do these kind of events again, type thing. So, what can you tell me about that event that's coming up for you in June?
It's called Loving Yourself Inside and Out, and it's probably, and you're the first to hear this, going to be the next book after Cleanse.
Oh, excellent, good.
I am halfway through writing another two, but I feel that this one is going to be slotted in between. And it's basically about everything from meditation to nutrition to self-love. But it's basically explains to the readers and, well, the workshop, sorry, going off on my book idea.
Yeah.
The workshop is the same. It basically explains to people that, you know, the reason that you maybe can't stick to this new diet you want to do or this new exercise regime is not because you're, you know, rubbish or crap at that or don't have any willpower or whatever it is, the story that you're telling yourself. It's because of a lack of self-love or self-worth or self-caring or whatever you want to call it. It's when we embrace that and start to learn techniques to help value ourselves and know that we're worthy and we're enough, and we easily make the changes to our nutrition or our diet or our, you know, whatever we're doing in our lives, our relationships, our finances, everything. It snowballs out into everything else when we realize that we really are worthy of those changes and worthy of having more and enjoying and embracing what we've got, as well as, you know, having more of what we want as well. So it really takes you through this, how to harness a better way of being with ourselves, and then also gives you the tools to make easy changes to, you know, your nutrition, what you're eating, and what you're doing to yourself and how you're speaking to yourself, and, you know, even just simple things like making your own perfumes and things like that, and how actually something like that is also healing for the body because we're not putting toxins and things on, but it's also healing for the soul because, you know, that's part of one of our basic needs as human beings, is to grow and evolve and, you know, and to create. So it's when you're doing these things that we perceive as fun, they're actually really nourishing and nurturing for our soul as well. So it's kind of, well, it's loving yourself inside and out. So it's learning ways to love yourself by making changes, but also by also loving what's there as well.
Fantastic. So basically, if people want, they're getting a head start on your book if they go to this event. Brilliant. That's great. So how are we doing for time? I was thinking we've probably been chatting for a wee while. So it's been really wonderful to be able to interview you and get some of your insights on these wonderful things, and I'm really grateful to you, as are all the people that have mentioned today. And yeah, so thank you very much for the work that you do, and please keep doing it, and keep your videos coming. I really recommend people check out your video channel, because there's a lot of really good stuff in there as well. So yeah, thank you for inspiring me as well, for being my friend. So I'm really grateful to you, and thank you for today. So anything else you want to add?
I just wanted to thank you. Thank you for this interview and all the lovely words and things that you shared today. It's been really nice. Thank you very much.
Okay. So if anyone wants to keep in touch or check out Faith, just to see the links at the bottom, and that'll probably be a link to my business as well, the Transformation Station. So yeah, so thank you so much, and I will see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.